Hi, my name is Alex Hawkins, and I'm here to talk to you about sociology. It's everywhere we look. It can be anywhere. Even me sitting right here in front of you, wearing a yellow shirt and with a short cropped hairdo is sociology. Today I'll be explaining to you three basic concepts. One, how the sociology fits into the gender role schema. Two, how racism ties in. And three, what types of sociology there are and how to recognize them. Kind of a pop back to the future for you. I'm here to discuss the gender role schema. Now, before all you young women and girls start screaming sexist, let me tell you that I'm just going off of what history is, and I'm not going to state my views on sexism. So, it's a very dangerous ground. Anyways, on to the gender role schema. Now, generally, as a whole, most of the women I know stay home, do the cooking, cleaning, whatever, all those little housewifey things. And the men usually are the breadwinner for the house. Now, that's most of the people I know. Now, as far back as history goes, until you get to the revelry for women's rights, that's how it's been. I've always seen it that way, even in today's society, even if women can vote now and do have a right to work in the workplace. So, let me give you something to think about. If you're a Christian, if you're an atheist or if you are non-Christian, just don't listen to me. But when God created the world, He took a rib from Adam to make Eve. Now, I'm not going to say that men are superior, and I'm not going to say that women are superior. But just think about it for a little bit, and just see what you can come up with. I'm asking you to tell me what your views on sexism and women's rights are. In the year 1863, the Civil War exploded. We had racism in the South and slavery, and in the North, we had abolitionists. President Lincoln's goal was to make the whole nation a union and to free the slaves. Okay, now that I've had that outburst, and that I've got you all pumped up for the day, let's talk about racism and slavery. How would you like it if somebody goes and puts an ox yoke on you? That's slavery. That is the most horrible punishment you could do to anyone, whether they deserve it or not. No one deserves to be taken from their native country and made slaves in another country that they are unfamiliar of. Now, I'm not going to say that all slave masters treated their slaves bad with an iron fist, but still, it's wrong, even if they treated them okay. And, I'm really ashamed to admit this, but a relative from one of my own family branches was the person who actually started the slave trade, Sir John Hawkins. I, myself, go totally against his view of things. I think that slavery is wrong. So, about racism. After slavery was, after it was stamped out, so to speak, the blacks were still treated with the level of disrespect. You've heard of Rosa Parks, got kicked off a bus. I've heard of, back in the past, all-white restaurants, colored water fountains. I used to be on the speech team, and my friend Aspen done this piece called Colored Water. It was about a kid who was thrown into racism. All of these things show that the black people were treated wrong. Well, okay, I should say African American people. So, once we gave them freedom, everything was okay. And we still have a great many of them living in our population. And in my English class, I had to study one song that said, the world cannot work as black and white. It can only work as gray. So, I'm going to ask you two questions. One, is slavery right or wrong? And two, do you think the world works better in gray? Comment below to tell me.
Okay, stereotyping. Sociology today, it's the same thing. I'm a homeschooler. I get stereotyped every time I tell somebody in my county or in any other county that I'm homeschooled. Whenever you say the words, I'm homeschooled, you immediately get the whole looking at you. You can tell in their eyes they think, he's uncivilized, whatever. In a recent study by Harvard University, they found that that because homeschoolers are much deeper thinkers, that they're going to take them over a public school student with the same high school record. So, look, they stereotyped homeschoolers, but look what we're really capable of. And of course, it can go the other way around. If a homeschool student looks at a public school student and says, well, hey, he's probably into drugs, blah, 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 that is a whole other stereotype. And really, the person could just be sad that day or having a bad hair day. You never know what could be wrong. And of course, I mean, some people you can just get the vibes off them that they're not, they're not right in the head, So, what about segregation? There is still a lot of segregation, whether it's by age, or most importantly and most not effective, but the most relevant is by clique. Every teenager wants to fit into their clique. But every person in a clique is different, thus giving the teenagers feeling that they are alone in what they feel. Now, me, I've went through that. But I find that the more that you have a pity party about yourself, the more you're going to feel miserable. So I find people that have kind of the same interests as me, but aren't necessarily the same religion, or don't necessarily do the same things I do. They just like my kind of things. So tell me, is segregation right or wrong? And have you ever stereotyped someone?